When I'm live. Um, Dear friends, hello and welcome again to one of my videos. I keep talking all the time about how we ought to speak up, and I thought I'd chime in with 3 points really about how to speak up, which might be of interest to other people. And before we start, I'm now also increasingly less shy about shamelessly asking you to like and subscribe to my videos, which are going to be sent out to my Facebook, Rumble, and other platforms from YouTube. I need the numbers, I need the likes, and I need the subscriptions so that YouTube pays attention to what I put out. So today's very quick video is about how to speak up. Context. Back in the day, people were acculturated to reading long streams of text. But increasingly now, when you write text, the platform people access the text on is their mobile devices. The screens are small. There is a limit to which people feel comfortable reading long streams of thoughtful, wordy text. Usually, if you got one screen, you stripe it up once. Most people hit their limit at that point, unless they're professional academics or something. And so, what that means is that a lot of the output, communication that we put out on media is now either video or podcast. Yeah? So that means that if you want to join the fray, somehow you're going to have to learn how to speak up. Now, speaking up isn't as easy as it seems. And there are 3 points I think it would be helpful for me to share. The first one is that you don't speak out without first finding your voice. Finding your voice is about finding your idiom, the way you speak, the way you communicate, your manner, your style, and so on. And the most important thing about finding your voice is that inside each one of us is an authentic voice. That's what you got to find. It doesn't happen overnight. You do lots of things by trial and error. And what you produced maybe a year ago, you look at today and cringe a little bit. But it's all part of the process. And if you don't take the first step, you won't get to the finish point. So the first thing is you've got to find your voice, your accent, the idioms you use, the examples you use, the mannerisms that you use, etc. All of these things are part of your voice. When you find your authentic voice, you'll find that whether people agree with you or disagree with you, they'll sit down and listen, at least for a while. So the first thing, find your voice. Secondly, you got to decide the audience that you're talking to. Now, a best way to explain that is to use my example. A lot of people find themselves more comfortable speaking to a monolithic audience, a silo audience, an audience in which everybody looks like everybody else within that audience. My audience isn't like that. Because actually, my purpose, my mission is about bringing people who are hugely different, one from the other, together, or sharing ideas with people who are hugely different, so that they start to think in different ways, and so that they start to think in terms of the global we rather than the ethnic we. First thing. So my audience is, what I say is for multiple audiences. Now, some people may feel uncomfortable with that. If they do, I'm really, really, really sorry. But I try and provide stuff for multiple audiences. And that is my thing. For you, it could be completely different. You could be going straight into a silo of a specific group of people. And there's an argument which says that the more acute or the more precise your audience is, from your point of view, the better you can tailor the messages that you're putting across. You don't have to dilute any of them, because everybody, being like everybody else within your silo, will understand what it is that you're saying. But that's not my shtick. Whatever the case, you must decide who you're going to talk to. Now, in relation to that, there is something I ought to say. We are coming to a time when world paradigms are being busted. They're all being changed. As a person who is north of 60, I'll tell you that in my day, people who looked like me, melanated people, Africans, were not to be listened to unless you were a head of state, a minister of state, or obscenely wealthy, all of whom form a very, very tiny minority of our communities. So if you're Kwame Nkrumah, if you're Thomas Sankara, if you're Jomo Kenyatta, if you're Josh Nkomo, if you're Nelson Mandela, if you're somebody who is very special, you would be listened to. But the culture has been created and taught abroad that when you see melanated people, you're not supposed to take them seriously. So by encouraging you guys, everybody else out there, to start speaking up, it is with intention. I'm trying to break that paradigm, because actually, if you look at the numbers, Europe's population is roughly half of that of the continent of Africa's. So there are a huge amount of us. And the people who share our life views, our life experience, and so on, who can enlighten the world about those viewpoints, say in America, North and South, Australia, Canada, other parts of the world, are very, very many as well. So that's why I say that pick your audience. When I go, I speak to the diaspora and I speak to Europeans. Those are the two groups that I'm kind of keyed for. Right. Choose yours. Lastly, if you want to share something with people, this is speaking as a broadcaster. In PR, we have an expression which talks, we have a saying which talks about earned coverage. With advertising, you pay for the coverage you get in a newspaper or a digital platform. In public relations, you earn your coverage by putting material out there which is of interest to journalists and their audiences. Now, you earn that interest by sharing A, insight, and B, experience. So by sharing insight, don't come along and regurgitate what everybody else is saying. Your experience has got to be your own, and some of it is quite personal. But I tell you this, what leverages any story and takes it to the realm of stratospheric significance is the fact that it's your lived experience. It's like having a car that's built specifically for you. Everybody pays attention. Okay, so that's the last thing. That you've got to share insights, you've got to share experiences, because it is these insights and these experiences that make a difference and create interest in those who are going to watch your videos. Now, the last thing I will say, and it goes to context, there is another pandemic coming. Doctors are already being briefed about it. The World Health Organization is already trying to establish treaties with world governments such that if and when, it's more likely when rather than if, another pandemic event arises, it won't be the politicians you voted for in your democracy that decide medical policy. It'll be a person who sits in the WHO. They're going to decide what your country is going to do. That's just one example. We have a range of other issues going on now in which your lived experience, your life experience can really enrich the public discourse, the public discussion. That's why everybody has to start A, finding their voice, B, deciding who their audience is, and C, what's the third point I made? Sharing their insight and experience. And I'll call that quits for now. Please subscribe, share, and hit the notification button when you see this video on YouTube. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.